Well, they're not going to all go the way you want them to. The Golden State Warriors, look, on a time change, just going personal real fast, it's always a struggle for me day one for the time change. We gain an hour. It's getting dark early. It got dark early for the Golden State Warriors, but I got Jannelle Moore joining me. We're going to break down what went wrong, why there's absolutely no panic buttons being pressed. It was pretty obvious why they lost this game, but Jannelle, it's great to see you, and we're going to break down this game next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. You can follow Jannelle Moore on Twitter at Jannelle12. You can also follow her on Threads, where I'm mostly at Writer Diva. I hope I got that right. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads at Dog Wild. Well, it wasn't the result Dub Nation wanted. The Warriors lose this one, 115-104. Their 5-game winning streak is snapped. Their undefeated record on the road is snapped. But look, Cleveland's a great team. And if you're not bringing your A game in Cleveland, you're likely not going to win. Jannelle, it is great to see you. Great to have you back on the program. And give us your immediate reaction to the Warriors dropping tonight's game in Cleveland.
I'm glad that you have me on tonight. And, I'm not really surprised and I'm not really worried at this point. This is the first time this season that the Warriors have been bothered by size. And I know that is a constant refrain. And, it's not surprising. Not in the least.
No, yeah, you're right. Let me ask you this, because a lot of people in the chat right now are talking about the Warriors' size. And there's a lot of stats that I think tell the story for tonight's game. Thanks to everyone for joining us on the live stream. Again, you can only find our live shows exclusively on YouTube, but a few stats stick out in this game. First and foremost, the Warriors were out-rebounded by clearly a much bigger Cleveland Cavaliers team, a Cleveland Cavaliers team that last year was number one in the NBA in defense. And when it comes to rebounding, they got killed 54-44. Points in the paint was the stat that stuck out to me all night. The Warriors got slaughtered in that department, 58-24. The Warriors lost the second chance points battle. That one was close, 18-17. And then fast break points. We were watching this all night. The Warriors' transition defense was struggling. The Cavaliers outscored them 26-10 in fast break points. A lot of people in the chat again and I'm sure Dub Nation in general, when they watch or listen to this, will talk about how the Warriors' lack of size was their demise tonight. It was the chief reason why they lost. Jannelle, my question to you is, I'm guessing you watched this game like I did, and Trayce Jackson-Davis, to me, it's always a delight to see him come in the game. I love this kid. I also thought it was a delight seeing Brandon Podziemski come into this game, but I also thought it was a little too late. Do you think if Steve Kerr had brought Podziemski into the game sooner, it would have been a different story? Would it have mattered? Are you going to echo maybe the sentiments of a lot of members of Dub Nation who feel the team for that 14th roster spot that they're going to have to fill by tomorrow? And there's no inkling as to who that player is going to be, and unless something is broken between the last time I looked and now, was it too late? Or do you think Trayce Jackson-Davis and Brandon Podziemski, who's also a solid rebounder, are they enough? What are your thoughts on the Warriors' size issues?
It wasn't Pod that they didn't bring in soon enough. It was Trayce Jackson-Davis to me. And it would have made some sort of impact because Trayce is an aggressive rebounder. He can get into the paint, can dunk. But, yeah, that's who they should have rolled with. And he should have got more playing time tonight. And something that stuck out to me was the fact that the Warriors missed all of those shots, those layups, those bunnies in point blank range in the second quarter. and I believe that that's an outlier. If a few of them that they missed would have fallen, they probably could have eked out this game, but it is what it is. And again, this is the first time this season that the size issue has been, highlighted.
Yeah.
And they're a small team. It is what it is. But what's really inexcusable to me is them not getting back on defense and transition.
Yep. Agreed. They look like a tired team tonight.
What they could have controlled.
Yeah, did they look like a tired team tonight? What would you attribute to the transition defense being poor? Oftentimes, from my observation, it's usually a poor offense sets up a poor transition defense. What I mean by that is it could be a poor shot selection in terms of corner threes, for example. Phil Jackson famously said, and I don't know if he said this verbatim, but that for every missed corner three, the other team gets the easiest bucket imaginable.
That's because of the shot turnovers, those long rebounds.
Right. Exactly.
And you have a quick and athletic team like Cleveland, they'll beat you down the floor. But they could have controlled that with shot selection. But then again, they couldn't buy a basket on credit in terms of layup. So would it even would have mattered tonight? It's just the fact that the Warriors have been on the road, and this is the first half of another back-to-back.
Yeah.
They're tired.
Yep. Yeah.
But there's nothing to panic. I mean, it's not a lot to panic about. I mean, this is game 7, and they're still a team that's trying to figure it out. They have a good start still.
Right. Agreed. Wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, I'm not hitting any panic buttons myself, Jannelle. I don't think this game is anything to read too much into. Let me ask you this. G Martinez right here uses the word old. Another person in the chat throws out LT writes that the Warriors are too small, old, and slow. Billy 415 says Clay was just standing around, not boxing out. I didn't notice that myself. But Salvador Estrada writing that Wiggins and other starters were not hustling back enough. The sentiments seem to be, at least from the fans tonight, that they were tired because they're old. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on whether or not the team is old, or if that was not the reason for the Warriors struggling tonight?
I mean, well, yeah, they are up in age, but again, they'll be tired regardless, I believe, even if they weren't old.
Right.
It's just the demands of the schedule.
Are you Jannelle, let me ask you this. Are you worried about Andrew Wiggins? I feel like Wiggins at this point of the season, and you mentioned we're 7 games in now. I don't see him having touch on his shot yet. At least he made a 3 tonight. He only put up 2 3-point attempts. I think he only had 1 3-point attempt in OKC, and he missed that. But he was 1 for 2. He was 3 for 9 from the field. He did grab 5 rebounds. But his stat line overall tonight, he had 8 points. Again, 5 rebounds, no steals, no blocks, no turnovers. That's always a good thing. But I've noticed so far with Wiggins this season, when he's backing his defender down and he's getting to the paint and going to the post, he's effective. Like, I don't have any problems with him doing that offensively. But when he's forcing these long shots, his jump shot in general, sometimes you're seeing like the same kind of form, the same kind of lack of touch that anyone who watched him in Minnesota, there was a resemblance there where the shots are just really, they have a lot of force to them. They're ricocheting off the rim a lot, which doesn't help with rebounding, because when the ball's ricocheting that far, it's a free for all in terms of who gets the rebound. Long story short, is Wiggins a concern, or is everything fine there and we should just relax because it's only 7 games? Your thoughts, Jannelle?
It's only 7 games in the season. I mean, slumps happen. Hell, even Steph had slumps.
True.
What my question is, why is he forcing his shots?
Yes.
That's what I would like to know. Why is he forcing the shots? Why do he feel the need to force shots anyway? Why do he feel the need to abandon what works for him? That's what I'm more concerned with. But what encourages me about Andrew is the fact that he's rebounding better than he's been in the early games. That's what's really encouraging. But his shot, I'm not really concerned because it's so early in the season, but I'm wondering, why do he feel the need to force anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Would
Because
you
he
agree
can
with
get
Joe, who
open.
says when Wiggins is struggling, just don't let him write it out, because sometimes he's never solving it. And then maybe you should put in a player like Kuminga sooner, a player like Moody maybe. Would you agree with those sentiments, or has Wiggins earned the benefit of the doubt to be given a longer leash and play through these struggles? What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with him because Kaminga, he's really developing and coming along. He was really good tonight. One of the few bright spots tonight. And of course, TJD. And what I'm wondering is, the minutes are up for grabs. How does TJD get those minutes?
Yeah,
How Kaminga gets more minutes? You know what I mean?
I do. I absolutely do.
And I don't think Wiggins have earned the right to anything, because Kaminga is coming. TJD is solid, and he needs minutes, he needs run, and I don't think putting him down to Santa Cruz helps anyone here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We're gonna have a lot more to discuss. There were some positives in this game, like Draymond Green, for example. The dude offensively has somehow rediscovered his shot. He has 6 threes, I believe, in the last 3 games. There were a few things to point out from this. I think there were some lessons to be learned, especially considering the Warriors are playing a team tomorrow that is not similar in terms of winning, right? I mean, the Detroit Pistons have been a lottery team for a very long time, but the Detroit Pistons also have size. I mean, they're such a big team that James Wiseman, the former number 2 pick of the Warriors, who got traded to Detroit, is having a hard time finding minutes just because there's so many other players ahead of them. So that's it. So the Warriors are going to be back at it in less than 24 hours with another team with size. Jannelle, I'm curious to know if you think what you think is going to happen in that game. Should we see more Trace Jackson Davis? Kuminga, even though I think overall he had a great game, he struggled mightily in the first half. We're going to talk about maybe why that is. There's a lot more to discuss, folks, but I have to give some love first to our sponsor, the first sponsor for this evening, and that's Gametime, our official ticket broker here at the Locked On Podcast Network, and more specifically with Locked On Warriors. And let me just get their graphic real fast. And Gametime is very simple. Jannelle, what you're in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. What are
That's
some
right.
correct, right?
Yeah.
So what are some events going on there? You got Carolina Panthers games, right? You got Charlotte Hornets. Anything else I'm missing?
Well, no, not really,
Okay.
because an event that would be happening already happened. I'm an alum of North Carolina A&T, and we had a homecoming yesterday, which is dubbed the greatest homecoming on earth, and a bunch of concerts, a bunch of live events, and all of that stuff. But that already happened, so nothing much on this front.
Okay. Well, the reason I bring it up,
People
and here in the Bay Area, we got a lot of universities with sports programs. We got a lot of pro teams here. You got concerts. Chase Center just had Jerry Seinfeld and Jim Hannigan. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Regardless, the point is there's a lot of events, whether you're in North Carolina where Jannelle is, whether you're in California where I am, and you got to get tickets for these events to actually get in. And that's where Gametime comes into play. You get a low price guarantee, meaning if you buy your tickets from Gametime and then you see those same tickets in the same row and section from another dealer, they'll refund the difference in case you see a lower price somewhere else. That is literally a low price guarantee. They also let you see the view from your seats with the Gametime app. It's super fast and easy in terms of the transactions, and they have availability, meaning if that event that you really want to go to is sold out, more times than not, you're going to find those tickets with Gametime. That's how confident they are that they actually include that in our ad reads, that they can provide you the tickets you're looking for. Not a guarantee there, unlike their low price, but still, they got the resources to take care of you. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For the everydayers, we're back at this tomorrow. Kylan Mills is going to join me for the post-game action, Warriors and Pistons. Tune in for that. Right now, I got Jannelle Moore with me, who's a writer for Andscape. Jannelle, I can't ever emphasize enough how proud I am of you for being a journalist for Andscape, part of ESPN. And you can follow Jannelle on Twitter at Jannelle12. You can follow her on Threads at Writer Diva. And you can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads at Dog Wild. Real quick, what are you working on with Andscape right now? Let's give some love to your work. What's the latest story you're working on?
Well, I just completed a story about my new hobby. I've taken up golf.
Okay.
About 3 months ago, and that was born out of a story that I've written about a golf shop owner out in the Bay Area.
Okay.
90-year-old Floyd Glenn. I wrote about that in July, and he was playing golf. He taught himself how to play golf in the midst of segregation and became very good, became a craftsman, and he's had a shop in the Ingleside district out there in San Francisco for nearly 30 years. I did that story in July. And in his interview, he made the game seem so easy, and I know that golf isn't easy. And I'm like, one day I was just bored. I was bored as hell. And I'm like, well, you ain't got nothing to do. Steph won the ACC golf tournament. Go out to the driving range and see what happens. My first hit was off of an 8-iron, and it was like 75 yards. And I was just surprised that I hit the damn thing.
Straight?
Yeah, straight.
Wow. Okay. All right.
And I knew it was luck. I went through a bucket of balls, and they were straight. I knew nothing about form. I knew nothing about stance or anything. And I hit that bucket of balls like I've been a golfer for years, and I knew it was fluke. I knew it was fluky. I knew it was BS, but I wanted to learn more.
Yeah, you got the beginner's luck there. Absolutely. Good golf. The learning, I always tell people the learning curve for golf is the steepest in sports. Surfing's very similar. If you ever decide to try surfing, you're going to encounter similar struggles, but it's also so damn fun, and you're out in nature. So is that story out yet? When is it coming out?
I don't know when it's coming out yet. I turned in the rough copy Friday, I believe.
All right.
And I ain't really satisfied with it, so I might have to go in and tweak a little bit and send it back to my editor.
There you go. Well, let me know. I'll definitely blast your story when you publish it on social media. Looking forward to reading it, Jannelle. I'm so stoked for you that you're working for Andscape, producing great content there. But speaking of frustration, Dub Nation's frustrated about tonight's loss, and I'm looking at the minute distribution right now. And this is a little perplexing. And I don't know if the unusual minutes that I'm not accustomed to seeing through the first 6 games versus now, I don't know the why of it in all honesty. But what I'm looking at specifically is Dario Saric. He played 13 minutes. Usually he's closer to 20, right? Gary Payton II. I know he had that weird situation. He had some sort of scab cut. He had a scab on his hand or his arm cut. He had some bleeding issue. He only played 12 minutes. I feel like they could have used him a lot more, even though he doesn't bring a lot of a height. At least he could have slowed down Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, who are feasting tonight offensively. Donovan Mitchell, especially with 31 points. He was 11 for 19 from the field. Donovan Mitchell was 5 for 11 from 3. And Darius Garland, even though he was 0 for 5 from deep, was still 6 for 17 from the field. Got to the line for 13 free throw attempts. Finished the game with 24 points. So I guess I'm wondering why GP2 got 12 minutes. Saric got 13 minutes. Moses Moody only got 14 minutes. Meanwhile, you look at the heavier side of things, like Clay and Steph got their 30-plus minutes. Steph especially makes sense. Clay's been getting heavy minutes all year, so it makes sense. I don't know. Draymond got 29 minutes. I guess that could make sense. But I guess when Wiggins is struggling the way he is that where you think the minutes should come from? Because I'm looking at the minute distribution. I'm seeing a second unit, a bench that is quite possibly the best in the NBA. And Kerr didn't go to that bench a lot in tonight's game. The only bench player that got the only two bench players that got their customary minutes was Chris Paul, who had 24 and change, and then Jonathan Kuminga, who got just shy of 20. What are your thoughts on the fact that Saric, GP2, and Moses Moody got considerably less minutes than they normally do? Your thoughts?
Remember, this is the first half of another back-to-back. And also, I believe that Kerr thought that his minutes distribution among the core, Steph and them, and CP3, he probably thought it was enough, but it wasn't.
Do you think for some people, like Matt Brotherton, for example, writes it's because some of the Warriors players will not play tomorrow? Do you agree with that? Do you think Kerr was strategizing there? And
I agree with that because again, it's the first half of a back-to-back. I understand you want to win every game, but sometimes it's a lost effort. And knowing that you have another game to go the next night, you got to conserve.
Yeah.
And I get that he thought that Steph, Clay, and Draymond was enough, and on most nights it would be enough. But I don't know. I don't agree with them having that many minutes, especially knowing they had to play Detroit tomorrow.
Right. One statistic.
And then on top of that, after Detroit, they have to go face the Nuggets on Wednesday.
That's going to be a big
all that altitude.
That's
knowing that they want to make a statement on Wednesday. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. No, you're absolutely. I was going to ask actually if you think, even though Wednesday is 3-4 days away, if they're looking ahead already, if they're guilty of that a little bit, that's going to be a monster game. Hall of Famer Rick Barry is going to join me for that one on Wednesday night for the post-game show. When we come back, Jannelle, I'm curious to know what your feelings were about the Warriors' turnovers. That's been a huge issue for them this season entering tonight. I don't know if you thought they improved in that category. They had 13, but those turnovers were also a reason why the Cavaliers had all those fast break points. And then simultaneously, though, the Warriors did not have a lot of fast break points, despite forcing 18 turnovers on Cleveland's side. So we're going to talk about that and a lot more. Again, as the Warriors aren't going to win all of them. So sorry, folks. It's not the celebratory party that we're accustomed here tonight. The Warriors have been spoiling us quite a bit, not just this season, but for the last 10 years. So we'll talk about that and a lot more. There were some positives in this game I want to highlight as well. First, though, got to give some love to our other sponsor for this evening, and that's the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network, and that's FanDuel. Jannelle, you cover the NFL almost as much, maybe more so. I don't know with the
more so these days, because even though I'm with Andscape, I also write for Carolina Blitz, and I'm looking to eke my way back into NBA content because that is my bread and butter right there.
There you go.
I want to be able to be nice in basketball and in football.
Well, FanDuel's
and to keep fighting for what I want.
Hell yeah. You got to do that in this world. You're absolutely right. Well, look, FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. How's Carolina doing against the spread this year? Do you have any insights on that?
I don't know anything about the spread. I just know what goes on the field, and they are horrid this year.
Yes, they are. And that's Stephen Curry's team. That's Steph's team. He loves that team. I don't think people understand.
I bet you he'll agree with me too.
Yeah, no doubt. Steph keeps it real, right? As you know as well as anyone. So the Carolina Panthers are struggling, but look, maybe there's an opening there. Maybe you can make some money by betting against them. And again, if you want all that information, whether it's the data,
betting is illegal in North Carolina.
Say that again.
I can't bet in North Carolina.
Fair enough. I know you can't, but a lot of other people can. And maybe it's an opportunity for those folks to capitalize off a horrible Panthers team. No matter what's going on, if you want to win some money with FanDuel, go to America's number one sportsbook, because right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. And what I've been trying to tell people with this promo is make the easiest money line bet imaginable, right? There's almost always a game most days where there's a heavy favorite, and that's where the $5 money line bet could really come into fruition. Chances are whoever the Panthers are playing, that's going to be an easy money line bet. Place that bet for $5, and if you win, you get $150 right into your account with FanDuel. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action right now. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Again, for the everydayers, we're back at it tomorrow. Kyla Mills is going to join me then. Right now, I have Jannelle Moore joining me. You can follow her on Twitter at Jannelle12. You can also follow her on Threads at Ryder Diva. We were talking about turnovers a moment ago. The Warriors had 13 in this game, and they forced 18 by the Cavaliers. But in terms of points off turnovers, Cleveland had 19 and the Warriors just had 11. What did you see there? What were the turnovers by the Cavaliers just not opportunistic for the Warriors? I don't really follow what happened there. Do you have any idea? And what are your thoughts on the Warriors overall in terms of their turnovers? Did they play sloppy tonight in your opinion? Were they clean? Your thoughts on the turnover battle?
Turnovers have historically been the Warriors' issue, and with a pass-heavy offense like the Warriors, you'll have a high turnover rate more often than not. It's the unforced turnovers that are really annoying to me.
Do you agree with Andre? Andre, who is an everydayer of this program, Andre FRBK says you're pissed. Are you pissed? Did this game piss you off tonight, Jannelle?
No.
Okay. All right, Andre, then you are not correct on that.
It doesn't make sense to get pissed off over it. It is what, game 7 out of 82 or 83 games if we're lucky.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
You're bound to have nights like this. It makes no sense to get worked up over it.
You're absolutely right. And again, the Warriors struggled offensively in this game. And there was a period, they went 8 minutes, 42 seconds in this. I think it was like at the end of the first quarter, going into the second quarter. 8 minutes, 42 seconds. That's over two-thirds of a quarter of play where the Warriors did not have a single field goal. Yet despite that, they were only down 3. So it's a little surprising that they even stayed in this game as long as they did. They didn't score any bench points until the 4:02 mark of the second quarter, and that was Gary Payton II. They were just off. I mean, the shooting wasn't there. They have 2 losses on the year now. Jannelle, you mentioned, or maybe it was us talking about it before we started recording, that the Warriors tonight shot just 36.2% from the field. Meanwhile, Cleveland shot 49.4%. Weird anomaly of a stat. The Warriors actually shot better from beyond the arc. They were 16 of 41 for 3 for 39% shooting from 3-point range. And they were just 36.2% for their overall field goal percentage, which indicates they were shooting the ball very poorly inside the 3-point line. Was it the height issue that you saw for those struggles? What do you think led to that? Did anything stick out to you?
Cleveland's height and length has bothered their share of shots, so I agree with that. And as far as the percentages are concerned, that lines up with the first loss of the season. Remember, against Phoenix, the Warriors shot in the 30s.
Right.
And just like tonight.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. No, that's a great. Was it weird to you, by the way? I did not know this, that Luke Walton was an assistant on the Cavs. Did you see that? Did that surprise you at all? that was a kind of like gave me a double take there for a second. I didn't realize he was there. It was a little bizarre. I don't know if that surprised you.
It surprised me. I just now heard about it.
Yeah, I was again. I just all of a sudden was like, wait, who is that? That's Luke. For a brief moment of this game tonight, I've been wanting to see Dario Saric, Trace Jackson Davis, and Jonathan Kuminga play together. And for a brief moment, we saw that. And then Kerr quickly pulled charge out of the game, and then that was that. Are there any lineups of players that you want to see that you want to see Kerr basically bring out there? Like, are you seeing all the lineups that you want to see? Do you feel like Kerr has some tricks in his bag that he has yet to utilize? What are your thoughts on the rotations and lineups? Are you happy or not? Your thoughts?
I think Kerr has done a respectable, a good job with the lineup so far this season. But I would like to see a lineup of Steph, Clay, Trace, GP2. I like to see a lineup with that.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
I'm totally with you. And it's not just I want to see more Brandon Pajemski. He brings a lot of energy. You can see there was like a missed free throw, for example, tonight where the Cleveland shot, and Pajemski almost came in from behind the free throw line to grab the rebound. He's tenacious on the glass. He's again, we've talked about his lower torso just being really strong. And maybe that's what gives him the verticality to be a solid rebounder. Maybe he has just great instincts for the ball. Maybe it's his basketball IQ. I don't know what the specifics are. It could be all of the above, but the dude can rebound. He brings solid energy. We only saw him for 11 minutes tonight. He was 2 for 3 from the field. Did have in those really, I'm sorry. That was Trace Jackson Davis. Pajemski had 0 points tonight, but he was still a +5 in the plus minus. Trace Jackson Davis, by the way, was 2 for 3 from the field. Had 5 free throw attempts, which is good. At 4 rebounds total, 5 points. Your thoughts on Pajemski? Do you like him as much as I do? Does he not excite you as much? I want to see more pods. What are your thoughts on the rookie?
He's all right, I guess. I would more intrigued by TJD.
Yes. He's good, dude. He is
quite honest. Nothing against Pajemski, Brandon.
Right.
There's nothing against him, but I like to see more of TJD because of the lack of size that we have.
Absolutely.
The Warriors are already up to their butts and guards. We know
that. They are.
But it's true.
No, you're right. But that's Pajemski. But the fact that he averaged 8.8 boards in college, and the fact that for a guard that he can actually he reminds me of Westbrook as a point guard who rebounds efficiently. I mean, that's the extent of the comparison there. But those two remind me of each other when it comes to the rebounding skills that they have as point guards. And that's a huge moment why I guess I want to see him play. The refs I thought were a little weird. Like, I don't know how the Cleveland Cavaliers won that first challenge. It was like a foul call. I forgot who the player was. There was blatant contact. The foul was the player. Who was it? Was it Dean or somebody? But they reached into Brandon Pajemski. And for some reason they overturned it. Steve Kerr was losing his mind. There was also another weird plays where the Warriors were called for 2 delay of games. I never saw an explanation for that, but there were just a lot of little things I thought the refs were blowing. Did you see that as well? Anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, I noticed that, but what we're not going to do tonight is pile on the refs when the Warriors got out hustled.
Yeah.
In points in transition, got out hustled on the glass, and couldn't buy a close shot on credit. That's what lost us the game.
I agree with you. I agree. There's also a lot of people in the chat who are really not happy with Wiggins. Is it egregious to be discussing Wiggins trade proposals? I've been kind of hit by people on social media with just broaching the subject. I prefer not at this point to touch the subject. Is it too soon for that? I mean, what is your take on Wiggins in terms of like a significant number of fans who are bringing up the idea of trading him for someone else? Is that egregious to you? Is there some validity to that? What are your thoughts on Wiggins possibly being traded?
Who y'all want to trade him for?
Great question.
First of all. Second of all, everybody will struggle. You know what I'm saying? And again, it is too early in the season to be twerking on the panic button. Right?
Let's end on that. That was perfect.
Let him work through whatever it is that he's working through. One good thing about it is at least he's showing some aggression and some teeth on rebounding.
Yep.
But what we need to know again is, why does he feel the need to force his shot?
Yes. That's a great call.
Once he figures that out, he could play like the Wiggins that was so effective in that championship run.
Good call. Good call. By the way, Anthony Slater on Twitter reporting that the Warriors do plan on playing their veterans tomorrow, the second half of a back-to-back. In fact, why don't we hear from Steve Kerr? This just dropped. Kerr was asked about Andrew Wiggins. Let's wrap up the show with this soundbite and hear what the head coach of the Golden State Warriors has to say about his sort of struggling wing. I don't know how you'd really classify him, but here's Kerr on Andrew Wiggins.
Do you feel like he's fine as full offensively than things start to look for him, or do you think it's more dynamic or more complex than that?
No, it's been a little bit of a slow start, but the defense is the key. His defense is always so important for us, and the better he is defensively, the more his offense will come. So I'm not worried about Wiggs at all. Just it's a slow start, and he's got a long track record. He's been with us for 5 years now, so he knows how we play, and I can probably try to help him out a little bit with some things, but Wiggs will get there.
I didn't realize he's been with the Warriors for 5 years now.
I thought it was at least 4 or 3 or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if Kerr's correct on that, actually. But regardless, yeah, that's crazy. Any final thoughts, Jannelle, as we wrap up the show? Again, they can't win them all. Jannelle, I'm glad you and I are on the same page. Zero panic buttons. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a good team. I know they're not the elite of the East, but they're right up there. They had the number one defense in the NBA last year. They're a very big team. I think you and I are both in agreement that we wish we saw Trayce Jackson-Davis sooner in this game. But any final thoughts, Jannelle, as we wrap up the show?
Tomorrow is the deadline for the Warriors to get 14 on the roster. What I'd like to know is who they're going with.
Great call.
And if I'm not mistaken, is Garuba on a two-way?
Correct.
I think that he is.
Correct. I'd love to see him. I don't know why we're not seeing him.
It might be the call that Garuba gets signed, because I don't know if anybody that's really out there in terms of, a wing, a song wing. I mean, I know Rudy Gay that they waived, but is he worth the risk of bringing back?
Yeah,
again, who is really out here?
There's no one that's out there. That's a problem. I mean, look, I would personally love a player like I'm brain farting in his name. The guy that the center that the Kings cut, Nerlens Noel. So like someone like that, just a bruiser. I would love to have just a big bruiser on this team so they can combat a player like Tristan Thompson, who has no business, in my opinion, getting the kind of rebounds, having the kind of impact that he had tonight. That would be my wish. But the reality of things, my guess would be either Rudy Gay, maybe Lester Quinones. I don't know, man. I'm very curious to see what they do tomorrow. Do you have any inklings, any guesses?
I would think that they'll probably just sign Garuba on a regular deal and call it a day.
I hope they play
or Lester and call it a day, because I really don't believe that there's anyone out here. I mean, I know that you mentioned Nerlens, but do you think Dunleavy Jr. would take a chance on it?
No, and I don't think so. And Bruce Morrow brings up Winning Gabriel. That's another player I would personally love, but I don't think so. I don't think they're going to take a gamble on him. I hope I'm wrong. Like Kai Jones, another player out there. We've heard of yeah, right. Yeah, you're familiar with him, right? Is that a flat no? I mean, he's got.
That's a hell no. You know how he's been acting.
That's exactly. I agree with you on that. And there's like Hassan Whiteside, Bismack Biyombo. There's a lot of potential like bigs who can come in and get you 6 fouls and some tough boards, but I don't know if that's what's going to happen. Anyways, folks, thank you so much. Sorry it wasn't a win. I know these shows are a lot more fun when the Warriors win, but Jannelle, I can't thank you enough for always joining me. You can follow Jannelle Moore on Twitter at Jannelle12. You can follow her on Threads at Ryder Diva. Looking forward to your next story coming out on Andscape, and looking forward to having you back on the show if you're down. Thank you so much, Jannelle.
You're welcome.
And thanks to everyone. We'll be back at this soon. Back at it tomorrow. Bye-bye.